Hey, I'm Meggie Kay. So today I am going to be talking about the flight I took about a month. By the time I post this video, it'll be about a month ago. From Toronto to Calgary, I flew out here to start working in Lake Louise, and I got some questions on Instagram when I was posting about it, asking, how things are different, and I figured I would just make a video talking about my experience flying during this crazy pandemic time that we're in. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So I flew from Toronto, so most of what I will be talking about is the Toronto Pearson Airport. That is where I flew from, and I didn't really spend much time in Calgary Airport, so I wouldn't really know what their policies are like. But let's talk about Toronto Airport and kind of like the process, the procedure, little things I noticed. So first off is that to get into the airport, you need to have a face covering, some kind of face mask, just to get in and check in and whatever. So make sure you have a mask with you. Also, if you're going into the airport, you have to be on a flight. They're not allowing guests or family. You have to say goodbye at the door. You're not allowed into the airport unless you are going on a flight, and the security there at the door will ask like, oh, what flight are you on? They also had hand sanitizer available to use before you go into any of the check-in desks. Also, I didn't go to a desk. I did online check-in. I don't typically do online check-in. I don't know why. I don't feel like fully comfortable doing online check-in. I think that's one of those like traditional travel things I haven't updated in my head. But I did online check-in for this one just to minimize contact, and I also knew I needed to pay for my bag, so I figured I'll just do that online before I get to the airport. It'll be fine, right? So yeah, I skipped the whole check-in desk and went to the kiosk. Now there are kiosks for you to check in, that's fine. But I went straight to one to print out my baggage tag. So they have like fully automated baggage drop-off now, and that's really cool. I don't know if this is because of the pandemic, so they're like, we need to, minimize contact with other people, so let's kind of push this out. But I know this isn't like new technology or anything, because I did something very similar when I was in Tokyo, one of the Tokyo airports. I forget which one, but it was like an automatic, you print off your own luggage tag, you attach it yourself, and you put it into this like weird little, looks like kind of like mailbox. That's what it reminds me of, but it's like a mailbox conveyor belt thing, and you do it all yourself. So I know it's not new, but it was also the first time I've seen that in Toronto. So I don't know if it was there, years ago, and I just never experienced it because it's been 4 years since I took a flight out of Toronto. Maybe it's been around, but it was the first time for me, and it did minimize contact with like other people working there. So that was cool. Something a little different. Real easy to do. I didn't film any of this like check-in procedure because it's weird and I had things to deal with. Obviously, no one could come into the airport with me, so I'm fiddling with all of this myself. I'm not gonna try and film for you. But yeah, check-in was real smooth, all on the kiosk, no issues. Went through security, no issues. So once I was past security, I was in the airport, I was ready to go. There was a lot different. Like, it was really empty, and I think that's just because a lot of the flights were not running that typically run. Toronto is usually a pretty busy airport at all times of the day. I remember being at the airport at like 1 in the morning, and it's still pretty busy. But I think because of reduced travel, reduced flights, it was really empty and everything was closed. My flight was in the morning. I think it was like at 10:30, if I remember correctly, 10:30, around there, late morning. And everything was closed. There were only a few stores open. I managed to find a cafe that was open. I got a coffee and a little like breakfast panini thing because I hadn't eaten breakfast. And the other thing was that I just wanted to make sure I had some food because I knew that there wasn't going to be food on the flight, which I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But like within the terminal, people were kind of crowded around the gate, like a little bit closer than I would have been comfortable with. And like, sure, we're all going on the same flight, and sure, everyone was wearing masks because there's regular announcements going on about please wear your mask. Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable, so I like sat a bit further away. I think for my flight from Toronto to Calgary, I overheard one of the flight attendants say there was 70-ish people, but it was definitely not a full flight, and I had the entire row to myself. Now, talking about on the plane, so they will ask you to please keep your mask on for the whole flight, which I know some people don't like that idea to like keep your mask on for the whole flight. They find it uncomfortable. Personally, for me, I've been wearing masks on airplanes for years. So it's very normal for me to always have a mask on while flying. And I started wearing a mask on flights because like years ago, I noticed I would never get sick. I would never catch colds except for like after flights. After I take a flight, that's when I know I'm gonna catch a cold somehow. I don't know why, and maybe it was just, you know, coincidence. But I haven't had a cold after a flight since I started wearing masks, so I've just kind of kept it. And I'm kind of glad everyone else needs to wear a mask. Another thing they give you on the flight is like a little care package thing, and they'll give it to you right when you first sit down. Inside you had hand sanitizer, gloves, a mask, a bottle of water, and some little wipes. Now, most of this stuff I didn't use. I didn't feel the need for it. I did use one of the wipes to wipe down the entertainment screen because it is touchscreen, so I wiped that down. I wiped my tray down, and you know, I used the hand sanitizer, but I already had a mask and I didn't really feel the need to use the gloves, so most of that stuff I just kind of kept. They give you that to kind of do your own thing, and because they don't have the food service for the domestic flights, even though Toronto to Calgary is like a 4.5-hour flight, something like that, they still don't have any kind of snacks or whatever, but they will have the bottles of water. They will give you an extra one if you want it, which is why they also make the announcements before boarding that they don't have food service. So if you want anything to eat, please buy it and bring it on board. So I only ate like half of my sandwich before, and I had the other half while on the flight because my flight went over noon hour and I was really hungry, like halfway through the flight. So I think that is everything I wanted to talk about in this video. I know a lot of people are kind of anxious or nervous about flying right now, even domestically, but I thought it was fine, and honestly it wasn't that different for me. But like I said, I always wear the face mask. I always have hand sanitizer with me. So for me personally, it was pretty standard, besides the fact that there was no like food options on board, and like everything was closed in the airport, so it was like slim pickings if you wanted to get a snack or something. So yeah, that was my experience flying during a pandemic. It was not as scary as I know some people think it might be. So yeah, cool. I think that's it for this video. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe because I'll be back with another video soon.